love, give it all. He's lazy, I said, oh. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Well, he said, give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Give me some love, give me some love, give it all. He said, give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Alright, give it to me, yeah. Alright, come on, come on, come on, come on, yeah. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Well, he said, give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Give me some love, give me some love, give it all. Baby, give me some love. Well, na 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 na.
This is what I want now. No, I won't settle for anything else. I can't keep pretending. It's not getting to me. It's never ending. Can't give you what you need. Oh no, no. You're misbehaving. Yeah, it's getting to me. It's never ending. You can give anything, so you can go, go, go. Go, 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 go.
home, but I know you don't. So this time I won't hear it on the phone. If you got something to say to me, then say it to my face. What it's all about, why you're bailing out. Think you owe me an apology. Just say it to my face. You're sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. You're so sorry. Say it to my face. You're sorry.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
It's Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. It is literally a new season. It is a new day, the first day of fall. And that means it's time for change. There's some things that we're just not going to put up with in this new season that we have tolerated from this system for so many years. Let's unpack that today. Up first, On the Clock with Georgia Ford.
A Wyoming coroner has identified remains that were found in Grand National Teton Park to be those of 22-year-old Gabby Petito. She was reported missing on September 11th. Her family says they last spoke with her in August, and she was supposed to be on a trip with her fiance, who has since gone missing. Let's take a look at the latest coverage on Gabby Petito.
A medical examiner has confirmed the body discovered in a remote area of Wyoming is that of Gabby Petito. The 22-year-old vanished while on a cross-country trip with her fiancé. Authorities have ruled her death a homicide, but there is no word yet on how she died. Meanwhile, her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, is still missing. FBI agents and police officers are continuing their search of a 25,000-acre reserve in Florida, where it's believed he went hiking sometime last week. That was the last that anyone knew of his whereabouts. The conditions there are challenging, with waist-deep water making up much of the park. Investigators are also chasing down multiple tips and possible sightings of Laundrie, some from hundreds of miles away.
They don't know where he is. The idea is they're getting close. This was something that they had called off at one point, and then they called this search back on with the FBI leading.
Laundrie's family says he told them he was headed there for a hike, left home with a backpack. And TMZ has since obtained this photo from a man who says a person that fits Laundrie's description was seen on their trail camera early Monday morning. This is in Baker, Florida. Baker, Florida is about 500 miles away from Northport, where he was last seen. However, people quick to point out the similarities between the backpack in the surveillance photo and a picture of Brian's backpack that was found on social media.
No, but this is such a tragic story. I know that Petito's family was very hopeful that they were going to find her alive. And when the coroner confirmed that it was her remains that were found, you know, obviously now this is a homicide investigation and her fiance is a person of interest. Now, he's not missing in the sense like she was missing, because he has been seen. He returned home. People saw him go back home. But at this point, it's almost like he's avoiding police.
Yes. Yet again, whiteness is able to get away with murder and come home and have some interaction of some type with the police. The police knew that he was back home, but he was not taken into custody. And then he subsequently fled. How many times have we heard the story in this country? This young sister is now dead. And if not for, I believe, some independent media YouTubers who captured the original footage of the van, they captured the first image. If not for them, this man probably would have gotten away with murder altogether. But now he's on the run because of the leniency that we always see this system give white men.
Yeah. Well, and on August 12th, there was also a run-in that the pair had with the police. The two had been arguing, and in the body camera footage from this incident on August 12th, you can see Gabby Petito crying. She's distraught. She's saying, you know, that the two had been arguing all day. You hear from Landry. He explains his side of things, but she was very distraught. And so even looking August 12th, just weeks before she went missing, them having this encounter. But to your point about we've heard this story before, not to minimize this horrific situation. That's right. At all. But right now, there are more than 500,000 people who are missing, and nearly 40% of those people who are missing are people of color. But people of color only make up 13% of our population. So if we're such a small fraction of the population, yet we make up 40% of missing people, and, you know, I can just about guarantee you've never heard of Erica Hunt. I can just about guarantee you never heard of Kaya Taylor or Nefertiti Trader, who went missing in 2014. Asha Degree, she went missing in 2000. North Carolina, you never heard of her either. What about Alexis Patterson? Or how about this baby doll right here, Ariana? In 2016, she went missing, and so did her mom. Her mom was found dead, buried in a park in California. Kaya Taylor here, I met with her family, and that was probably one of the most horrific stories I've ever done. Akaya, she was pregnant when she went missing in 2017. You know, all of these stories that we don't hear of, yet everybody in this country knows Gabby Petito now.
Yeah, because, you know, the one thing our media loves more than anything else is something, if it bleeds, it leads. You know, if there is a story that can be sensationalized for headlines and clicks, there's nothing that they won't do. And so, unfortunately, the reason we know this story so well is because the media understands that this country responds. It responds when there is a white woman in distress, as it should, because, you know, she's a human being as well. But where is the response for our black sisters that have disappeared and not nary word from the system?
Where's the empathy? Why is it so hard for us to see Ariana's humanity? Why is it so hard for us to go to YouTube, go to TikTok and cry out for each one of these women? When you look at Akaya, knowing that she was pregnant, what happened to her unborn child? You know, where is that same empathy and that same urgency? Why is it that FBI is not deploying their resources to have investigations done in the same way that they did for Gabby Petito? We've seen this over and over and over again. But as I now have a 13-year-old myself, and I look at some of these women who have gone missing, and I see my own children in them, I can't help but be terrified that if it were my child, would the country respond in the same way that it did for Gabby Petito?
And I'm also thinking of just the different populations that get entirely ignored in these conversations. You think of the indigenous populations and communities who are still the same. I mean, groups of people who are gone missing, and nothing has been said on the national level. Just all throughout marginalized communities, we see that there are people who are endangered and snatched away, but there's so much emphasis that is placed on the narratives that are useful to this system. See, they don't mind talking about this case because it's going to generate so many clicks and so many eyes watching as this story unfolds, because what this country wants more than justice, what they want are clicks.
And it's sad that we've been reduced to that, but it is true. And, you know, the thing about social media, the thing about national media drawing attention to something is we see when there's this national spotlight, it's easier for investigators to get the information that they need. It just so happened that a couple who was in Wyoming heard about the story and did recall, right? Like you pointed out, they did recall that I think I saw this white truck, and they went back through footage that they had. And sure enough, they were able to turn that over to investigators and use that as evidence. If media would shine a light on some of these other cases in the same way that it has on Gabby Petito, and not think about the clicks, but think about the humanity, and think about finding someone's 7-year-old daughter who's been missing for 10 years, or think about finding a pregnant woman who just vanished, and her family didn't even find out that she was missing until she didn't show up to her own baby shower. If the media would utilize the power that it has, we might be able to solve some of these other cases as well.
But, you know, we're subject to that all-powerful news cycle, because if it's not stimulating enough, it won't possibly make it into the news cycle. But if it's captivating enough, like Bring Back Our Girls, remember the story of the girls stolen by Boko Haram, right? And everybody, it was a thing, Bring Back Our Girls. Well, those sisters haven't been recovered entirely. There's still some that are missing. But now that it's no longer titillating enough for the news cycle, well, it fades away. In so many cases, Georgia, we see that it has to be something extreme. But in this case, as Joy-Ann Reid pointed out on MSNBC, it was the missing white woman syndrome that got this enough attention to get justice, because this sister, regardless of what color she was, she deserved justice.
Absolutely. And my condolences to her family. I truly hope that Laundrie starts to cooperate with authorities and comes forward and takes accountability for whatever role that he's had in her homicide. He knows something, you know, and to your point, Ben, more than 700 Indigenous people went missing near the same place where Gabby's body was found between 2011 and 2020. But nobody ever heard about those 700 Indigenous bodies that were found. One thing that I've been exploring and covering here in Minnesota is the mounds. The mounds are across America. They are historically where Indigenous people have buried their ancestors. And what I'm finding, Ben, is that developers will come through a lot of times these burial grounds, cemeteries, for lack of a better word. They are oftentimes on the highest point of the city, which tends to be a very great view of the city. And so it is attractive typically to developers to come in and develop homes or develop retail stores there. And so what I've learned is that the human remains of indigenous ancestors have been excavated by developers. They've been removed, dug up, so that we can construct streets and homes and places to shop, places to eat over cemeteries. I believe we have a clip. I want you guys to take a listen to a woman who is leading an effort here in Minnesota to reclaim and restore the sacred burial grounds of her ancestors.
It's been hard for me too because I grew up on the east side, and even as a Native person, I brought my children to play at the playground. At the time, I didn't know that there were burial mounds all over this entire bluff, and that literally everywhere up here underneath the ground are the remains of our ancestors. I didn't know that. Indian Mountains Regional Park here is a place where a lot of the Dakota communities up and down the river would bring the bodies of their relatives to be interred here. We would put somebody's remains up on a scaffold until there were only bones that remained, and then they would be interred into the mounds. The place that you would want to bury your relatives is on some place high where they can be close to the stars, so they can find their way home along the Milky Way, and also so that they can watch over you. This being the highest point along this part of the Mississippi River naturally was an ideal place. Obviously, the way that this landscape has changed has been through colonization and what was best for the captains of industry along the Mississippi River. For the newly arrived colonizers, they thought this was the best view of the city, so a lot of our burial sites were plowed over and the mounds were destroyed to make room for houses so that people who were wealthy enough could buy those houses and have the best view of the river. I want to pay my respect.
So, Ben, I mean, when you think about people's homes are over the sacred burial grounds of indigenous ancestors, I mean, how much more disrespectful can you get?
You can't. And I think, see, this is part of the absurdity, right? There's no respect when we talk about greed. This is merely an inconvenience for these corporations to remove the remains of. So there's something that I hold and I cherish deeply, the land of my ancestors. Right? If as much as I can trace it being a survivor of slavery, right? We have that limitation, but that land, that means something because my ancestors are buried in that town. Now, you mean to tell me what reaction would you expect if you come in and you try to, in their bones, you try to interrupt it's serious. But for corporations, it's merely a detour on their way to their quarterly profit margins.
And I mean, when you think about the indigenous community and all that they have had to endure since colonizers came here, I mean, just the very thought of interrupting someone who has been laid to rest. And, you know, when we came here telling them that they weren't civilized, yet here we are destroying cemeteries so that we can develop properties. You know, you look at in Colorado, you have a governor who went ahead and he revoked a bill that was passed in, I believe it was 1864, that said that people should kill Native Americans and they would be able to get away with it in order to take their property. This was a bill in 1864 that was passed in law. I do believe that we have some coverage on that as well. We can turn to that if we do. But it just continues to show how the fabric of this nation is so deeply engrossed in racism, and how much how culturally incompetent we are. Take a look at this coverage coming out of Colorado.
And Governor Polis signs an executive order rescinding 2 former proclamations. They were put in place by Territorial Governor John Evans about 150 years ago, and they endangered the lives of Native Americans.
Governor Polis and Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera held the ceremony to mark the signing of an executive order. It officially rescinded proclamations by Territorial Governor John Evans in the 1860s
that called for citizens to kill Native Americans and take their property. The order eventually led to the Sand Creek Massacre, an attack that left more than 200 Arapaho and Cheyenne Native American women and children dead.
Polis called it the righting of wrongs of the past. Colorado leaders were joined by members of the Southern Ute, Ute Mountain, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes and tribes across the country.
I just want to know why that was even enacted as a law in the first place.
Oh, yes. I mean, the fact that this was on the books for 157 years and it just got off the books, I think should be a clear testimony to the fact that systemic racism, all the way to the extent of murder and then pillaging and plundering the property of Native Americans, of indigenous populations, that really should show us very clearly what this country was built on and is sustained on to this day.
You know, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge that all of us are on the land of indigenous people. We see what's happening with the Line 3 in northern Minnesota being protested. It's violating treaty rights, yet and still you have corporations who are given a green light by government officials and also protected by local law enforcement agencies, despite the fact that they're violating treaties that were passed, and still so much stolen land that continues to get developed. It is just
water protectors, the water protectors and the pipelines that are crossing through the it is just, it's not only the disrespect for these populations, it's also the disrespect that it's coupled with disrespect for the earth. It's all compounded into one big absurdity.
Yeah, and when you look at environmental issues that we're facing right now, and you listen to our indigenous brothers and sisters, they really have the answer. The things that they have implemented through their culture traditionally, they respect the earth, they respect the water, they pay tribute to it, they give gratitude to it. I mean, all of the things that we really should be implementing in order to preserve the resources that we need to survive, right? Yet and still, their culture has been dismissed as being barbaric or anything like that. Yet and still, if we listen to them and become culturally competent to some of their practices, I think we would be much better off.
Absolutely, Georgia, and I mean you've alluded to it a couple of times in this morning. The nerve of these barbarians to refer to our native comrades and colleagues and friends as uncivilized when we are trying to literally survive the barbarity of colonizers to this day.
And now, Ben, I know that you have been following some stories this morning as well.
Yeah, so we're taking a look at President Biden's speech before the UN, particularly one sentence towards the end that got a round of applause and a standing ovation, speaking to the fact that we are no longer engaged in a 20-year war in Afghanistan. But it's the sentiment about it that I want us to take a look at and consider for a moment. Let's run the clip.
For the first time in 20 years, the United States not at war. We've turned the page. All the unmatched strength, energy, and commitment, will, and resources of our nation are now fully and squarely focused on what's ahead of us, not what was behind. I know this. As we look ahead, we will lead. We will lead on all the greatest challenges of our time, from COVID to climate, peace and security, human dignity and human rights, but we will not go it alone. We will lead together with our allies and partners and in cooperation with all those who believe as we do.
Now, we'll get to the full segment in the next half hour during the Benjamin Dixon show. But, Georgia, it's the fact that, yeah, I do recognize, and I think Joe Biden should be applauded for pulling us out of Afghanistan. We know that it was problematic, and there are so many things that need to be answered for, but we all agree that the war needed to be ended, and so we salute him for that. That was a great decision. But let's be clear, the United States is still engaged across the globe, whether it be proxy wars, whether it be our still limited engagement with the war in Yemen by proxy of Saudi Arabia, and our continued relationship with that barbaric regime. I think we need to be clear that we're not at a state of peace. And while we can celebrate the end of the Afghanistan war, we have to be very sober about our engagements that this empire is still engaged in.
Well, and I think the fact that he's trying to portray it as though we rather are not engaged in war anymore. I really wonder, as the Biden administration, right, we're still at the front end of him being in office, but as we approach the end of his time in office, how will this be reflected upon? Will it be reflected upon as a victory? I think we're seeing him trying to take control of the narrative, trying to spin it and make it seem like it's better than what it really is. It's, you know, the typical thing that we see politicians do, the smoke and mirrors, right? But when you compare that to what Trump did, right? If you're not up there at that podium speaking facts, if you're not up there telling the truth, and you're able to just lie to the American people, I mean, really, you're no better than Trump.
Because if we extend that, and I think this is our responsibility is to call balls and strikes here. You know, when he's right, he's right. When he's wrong, he's wrong. And while there's nothing overall wrong with his speech, it was a fine speech, right? The particular details that matter to black folks in particular, right? Because there's still a war that's going on domestically. It's the war on the black community. We can't declare ourselves at a state of peace when the very weapons of our warfare here in the United States, in the streets of Ferguson and every small city, are literally the machines that we had overseas. And so while we still have empire outside of the United States of America, it is a direct line to the domestic terrorism that black people suffer at the hands of the police state internally.
Oh, absolutely. And having been out there and been on the ground covering some of those protests, having been a person who's been shot by the rubber bullets that they deploy on people who are out there exercising their First Amendment right, whether it's protesters or journalists, the tear gas, you know, all of these different weapons that are being deployed on American soil definitely makes you wonder if we are either in a civil war or if we've just normalized so much the militarized approach to dealing with American people that we no longer see it as war on American soil. But I mean, literally, that's what it is.
Exactly. Absolutely. And we have to reject, one of the things that we have to reject going forward is this idea that so long as we individually have peace, that we are at a state of peace. our peace oftentimes has come at the expense of so many other people across the global south. And so we have to be sure as we listen to this language, we cannot allow ourselves to be culpable with the oppression of any people across this globe. And I think as Black people, we have to draw the line and say, yes, we applaud everything that you're doing right. But let's be very clear and very sober. The United States is still engaged in too many wars, either they be proxy, cold wars, silent wars, whatever wars. The United States imperialistic hand can be felt in every corner of this globe.
And before we're out of time, Ben, I do want to point out the fact that it was announced yesterday that COVID has officially surpassed the amount of deaths, making it the most deadliest pandemic in the U.S. ever. Prior to COVID, the 1918 flu was the deadliest. And so now with more than 675,000 people dead due to COVID-19, we have surpassed that number.
Yeah. You know, and we have far greater technology, so much more information, everything that we needed to prevent that number from going over, I don't know, but 100,000. It was a novel coronavirus, and so we were not prepared for it. And so there were going to be people who died. But I think we could look at the totality of the fatality list and really understand that that's not a product of the lack of technology. That's a product of the ignorance of our moment and the incompetence of our leadership.
Absolutely poor leadership. You and I reflected on this in summer months before kids went back to school. And I felt like we definitely saw the train wreck coming. We called it out when Biden said that he was going to allow kids to go back to school. We knew as parents that it was a poor decision, that kids should have been able to continue doing distance learning. And here we are seeing more and more children not only getting sick, but dying as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, Georgia. I really, you and I did call it at the beginning of the middle of the summer as we were getting ready to go back to school. There was no reason anybody's children should have gone back to school, period. Because we see the results. We've seen so many teachers who have died. We've seen so many staffers who have died. And now we're seeing children who are dying. Precious at every age. It doesn't matter where they were elementary school or excited about high school. The stories that we're reading of the young people who have died because of the decisions of our incompetent leadership is enough to enrage you. But here we are at a moment, an inflection point. We simply cannot allow this level of absurdity to remain in power. We got to stand for ourselves here.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for On the Clock this morning, but stick around for more on The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Swipe, swipe. Just picked up some bands. Come again. They do what I do. I'm like Simon says. Yeah, I'm the running man, rapping rubber
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show.
Welcome back. It is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. It is the first day of fall. And it is Wednesday, which means it is DJ Exclusive's day off. But I have called an audible and I've thrown him a text message. I'm like, bro, I need you if I can have you, because it's just not the same without my brother from another mother who's normally on the screen with me, DJ Exclusive James Bubba Williams. So, hey, we'll get there. I want to, in the meantime, I got to take a look at these clips because we're fighting a couple of fights at the same time. One of them, and I actually think both of these clips that we're going to talk about, they're kind of comical, especially when you consider who's doing the talking. The first clip is from Facebook Privacy and Public Policy Vice President Steve Satterfield, as he discusses the nature of our data and how Facebook uses our data. And I don't know, maybe you're not up to speed on the reality of what Facebook does and what most of these tech companies do. But there's no part of your existence online that these companies are not grabbing up and compressing into their data, into their archives, into their algorithm so that they can maximize their profits. Let's just be clear. We are the products. But let's take a listen to what this Facebook vice president had to say about it.
We don't see data as something that people give us in exchange for providing our services. We see data as something that's we use to provide the service to them, to provide value to them.
Let me repeat the quote. We don't see data as something that people give us in exchange for providing our services. No, that's literally what we're doing. I want people to understand like the scale and the scope, because it is inextricably linked to what we're fighting. When we talk about fighting white supremacy, when we talk about fighting the police state, when we talk about fighting all of these things that are, income inequality, folks, the algorithm has been weaponized against us. We got to be clear. We're not just fighting bigotry. We're fighting how bigotry is able to leverage technology. And Facebook is complicit with that. I don't know if you remember Cambridge Analytica. It was the organization that Donald Trump used in 2016, which took all of the data from Facebook that it can get through its app, and it used that data to process a victory for Donald Trump. I mean, you really have to be able to see the immense amount of power that Facebook gets from our data. And so, no, this is quite literally what the people are so committed to connectivity. The people are desperate for relationships, for, connecting with friends from back in the day. No matter how toxic Facebook has become, people still stay there. That's how desperate people are for connectivity. Facebook knows that, and they've been monetizing it the entire time. And not only have they been making billions off of our data, they have allowed that data to be used against us in our fight for liberation of all people. I'm telling you, I just think about it every day now. It's not that I just have to fight against Tucker Carlson. It's the fact that I have to fight against the algorithm that Facebook uses that prioritizes Tucker Carlson clips. People always say, well, Ben, why do you give people like, these evangelical pastors or Tucker Carlson, why do you give them a platform? They don't need my platform. Facebook has become their platform. And if you look at the top 10 published articles or published posts on Facebook, every single day, out of the top 10, 7 of them, at least 7 of them are conservatives who are spewing propaganda like Tucker Carlson in this next clip. So it's not just about, Tucker Carlson and we want to take him on. It's about the fact that Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, we see what Twitter did for Donald Trump. There is no President Donald Trump without the technology of social media. And here is their next poster child, Tucker Carlson, as he discusses the vaccine requirement and the impact that that is going to have on the military. Let's listen to the next absurdity.
The point of mandatory vaccination is to identify the sincere Christians in the ranks, the free thinkers, the men with high testosterone levels, and anyone else who does not love Joe Biden, and make them leave immediately. This show has just obtained a PowerPoint that the Army is using to justify mandatory vaccines to the troops. This is an actual slide from it on your screen. You will notice there the sympathetic portrayal of Satanism. How many children were sacrificed to Satan because of the vaccine? The slide reads, apparently sarcastically. Then the presentation proceeds to list the so-called tenets of Satanism, which are taken straight from the Temple of Satanism website. So here you have the United States Army doing PR for Satanism, but it's utterly shoddy and dishonest. For example, it falsely claims that only 3 people have died from taking the COVID vaccine. Reports collected by the Biden administration itself indicate that number is actually in the thousands. I don't think it should surprise any of us that the Navy SEALs are first on the list to be targeted. It's an all-male force. I don't know anything about their voting records or even if they vote, but they're exactly the kind of people, if you were planning to control the military for political purposes, you would want gone.
I think that's accurate. I think my clients in particular, some of my clients are Navy SEALs. They are a very small part of a much larger group of Navy SEALs that feel that way. I also have clients that are fighter pilots that feel like they've been forced into the same situation.
Now, before I laugh them to scorn, because that's really all they're worthy of, let's take apart what is actually being offered to millions of people every single night. You have to understand Tucker Carlson has the biggest show in the country. And so the absurdity of the moment is now that you have millions of people around the country who really believe that the United States Army is promoting Satanism. Because really, does Tucker Carlson expect the people to parse out the fact that that documentation did not literally come as an endorsement from the United States military? No, because he doesn't have to count on his audience actually thinking. Tucker Carlson is counting on his audience doing the exact opposite, being intentionally obtuse enough to follow him all the way down to taking horse dewormer as a solution for something we have a vaccine for. But that doesn't matter because he's not here to help anyone but his bottom line. Do you know that this incompetent white man makes about $7 to $8 million a year to lead people to their deaths? I mean, that's one hell of a deal. I mean, if that's a temptation, not for me, but for some people, I imagine there are many people who would get on the international stage of Fox News and tell people to take anything. Well, hydroxychloroquine, for example. I mean, to Tucker Carlson, that's perfectly fine to sell versus the vaccine because there's no victory in it for Tucker Carlson. The vaccine doesn't do anything for him because it does not inflame the situation. See, the vaccine is our way out, folks. Plain and simple, or at least it was up until the point now that because the pandemic has spread so wildly throughout this country, because of people and voices like Tucker Carlson, there's a possibility that a variant will emerge where now we have to sit for another year, 18 months, for a new vaccine because of propagandists like Tucker Carlson. But he doesn't do it by himself. He has some assistance. As always, our daily dose of evangelicals. I want you to take in consideration the type of sermons that are being preached around the country. Bring up the very first one that you have, Dwayne, because if my memory serves me right, this one is contextualizing the entire battle, not only around COVID-19 and the vaccine, but everything that we are hearing from these white evangelical conservative pastors is something along the lines that says that every single person that disagrees with them is somehow serving the devil And everything that they do, no matter what it is somehow obviously serving God. Let's take a look at this first clip.
He declared war. That's a major charge. Let's investigate what that means. For the time of man, since the very beginning of time, war has always been an effort to reestablish harmony according to whatever deity that you fight for. Joe Biden is trying to establish harmony for the deity that he supports. I submit to you, he is a tool for Satan. I submit to you that this is a war primarily of the mind. They come in through the eyes, come in through the ears, and they try to control. And this is my word of warning for patriots, for Christians, people who love America and want freedom to continue. Don't take the bait. Don't pull the trigger. Don't participate in a false flag type situation, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to get people who are righteously angry to do something that they can then justify as a fig leaf in their mass propaganda media to convince everybody else who is otherwise already on their plantation, to convince the slaves that they need to go against the war, the people like you, people like me, are trying to fight for their freedom too. And so the way forward, and this is where I would have people, don't comply. Don't do it. The way that you break this enemy is not by putting bullets in people's heads. I mean, that is not going to solve this. We are not there yet. The way that you break this enemy is you don't obey him. You don't do what they say. This man, Joe Biden, he's a tool for Satan. Do not equivocate on the truth. He's breaking the Constitution. He hates God, and he cannot make you do anything that you don't want to. That's the truth.
All we like sheep have gone astray. These people are leading their congregations, whether they be digital congregations, their sphere of influence, their audience, their social media audience, or their literal congregation, over whom I'm sure they have presided quite a few funerals. I do want to pause before I say anything else and ask every evangelical pastor to give us your roster of how many people you have buried as a result of your teaching, as a result of you refusing to shut down, as a result of you refusing to wear masks, as a result of you attacking the vaccine, as a result of you categorizing this as a tool of Satan that's being wielded by Joe Biden. Folks, the reason Tucker Carlson can get away with what he gets away with is the same reason Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump, all of them, Fox News in general, because they are supported by hundreds, if not thousands, of tiny little Donald Trumps who have control over their small fiefdom called their evangelical church, or their Facebook church, or their social media influencing sphere. These are the pastors who are convincing their audiences that we don't need the vaccine. In fact, the vaccine is something that is of the devil. And here's the gag. They are dying from this. They are literally dying from this. Do we have that clip that gives us the rundown of all the conservative radio hosts who are dying from this? Phil Valentine, conservative radio host. I mean, these pastors are dying of this. And I'm sorry. Here's the thing. If you want to convince us that you are on the side of God, then the God that y'all are shouting about right now is letting y'all die. And I submit to you that you guys you serve nobody else but your ego, your pride, your bigotry, and your greed. That's why you guys genuflected before Donald Trump. I mean, even unto death. But that's not even enough. I have another clip. Self-proclaimed American patriot Jaren Jackson would love nothing more than to shoot godless commies in the face. But since he's a law-abiding patriot, he won't do that because it's illegal. Or is it? I just want you to understand there's never been a big step between people who shouted praise the Lord. The very next thing that came out of their mouth was pass the ammunition. Let's take a look at that clip.
So this brings up the issue of what does a modern day militia look like? Because if you're like me, you see these godless commies and you're like, I want to shoot them in the face. But because you're like me and you're a law-abiding patriot, you're not going to do that because that's illegal. Or is it?
I suggest to you that these are the videos I present to you. These are the video that the algorithm picks up. So it's not just the ideology. I want you to be sure these people have audiences. They have audiences from which they can raise offerings. They are able to raise offerings and grow their platforms. This is why you see so many copycat versions of this. Everywhere you turn, there is some version of an evangelical pastor / teacher / YouTuber / conspiracy theorist / prophetess / prophet who's using technology in order to spread messages that are going to get even more people killed. There's literally nothing about this pandemic that required nearly 1 million American lives. But it's the greed, right? It's the bigotry. It's the commitment to white supremacy. It is a commitment to their own personal ego and self-aggrandizement because it's more important for them to get on these internets and to benefit from the algorithm that, by the way, pays them pretty good. They're not only getting famous off of destroying society, they're getting rich off of destroying society, and the rest of us are left here. Well, actually, here's the flip side of it. Take a look at this clip. In memoriam. Are any Walking Dead fans out there? I don't do this to mock them, even though I guess I am. Some of the same people who are preaching these anti-vax, anti-mask messages are the people who are dying of this pandemic. So I want the audience to really take in consideration where you're getting your information, because where you get your information today is a matter of life and death. In memoriam of all the conservative radio hosts who didn't make it through the apocalypse.
Right-wing radio host is truly gunning for the most dangerous job in America title. At least 7 radio hosts and high-profile anti-mask and anti-vaccine advocates have died from COVID-19 in just the past few weeks. Before catching the virus, the conservative crusaders had shared conspiracy theories about vaccines, told supporters misinformation about the virus, and even held rallies in opposition to mask mandates. And it's this kind of misinformation that has resulted in these sickening, sobering, and largely preventable stats. 1 in 500 Americans have now died from COVID-19. The virus is currently killing roughly 1,900 Americans per day on average, a 33% jump over the past 2 weeks. The overwhelming majority of those deaths are among the unvaccinated.
Sunlight that always stays, dinner by the waterway. It's that sweet life. Raise your cross. Made some dude crack a smile. He asked if I could stay a while. I'm living that high life. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro. Back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the alleyway. Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. I left my heart in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. Shopping the girl, I brought
got a girl on my Vespa. She said I already told ya, I never dated a black guy. I said you're brown yourself. Let me offer help. Come on inside. Where everybody knows your name, everybody knows your name. Time to catch a flight, but you can make me go. Unlocking all the memories of my new home. Ventilated echoes playing to and fro, back and forth, yeah. Caught some kids dancing in the alleyway. Crazy how the melodies began to play, yeah. Tell me how you feeling when you hear the lyric, yeah. My heart's in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. I left my heart in Stockholm. Now I never wanna go home. Separate again. Sunlight that always stays in and by the waterway. It's that sweet life, sweet life, sweet life. I never wanna go home, go home. I'm living in Stockholm, Stockholm. I never wanna go home, go home. Living in Stockholm, Stockholm. I never wanna go home, go home. I'm living in Stockholm, Stockholm. Yeah. Shut up, I get the bed, the bed. I could really use a change of scenery. Yeah, everybody smoking all the greenery. Yeah, close the match 'cause they were handed down to me. But I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It could all be worse, I could be a hater like you. It could all be worse. Pills to make the man, but that poison's gonna kill you. From the inside out, so right now. Say it with your chest now, say it with your chest now. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it. I'm young, I'm free, can't nobody take me here and now. It's my time to run it out. It's my time, it's my time, it's my time to ride it out. It's your time, oh. Cheers to all the haters, 'cause you proved to me that rising to the top was my destiny. You can see whatever from behind me, but I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go. It can all be worse, I could be a hater like you.
Good morning, people. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You know who it is. It's the face, the sound, the voice. DJ Exclusive is in the building, y'all. Yes, I am here. Good morning, y'all. Got a new drop for y'all. Y'all ready for season 2? It's a preview.
I burned out, so to speak. Now come a little closer. I feel a little light in the light track.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning.
There's still a little light in the light track.
Yes, I'm here. I ain't want to get fired on my day off. Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
And I know just what to say. And I know just what to do. And I'm so sick of pain. But it's not too quick when you losing this game. I can't afford to be losing this game.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, y'all. Y'all come on in and get situated. Get your tea and coffee, whatever it is you do. Good morning. Go ahead, man. As soon as Rebecca get here and get on this screen, I'm going to get my coffee. Yes. Shout out, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Super Dragon, Elizabeth Lonza, Laura Strada, on and on. Susan Bradley, Courtney SOP, Mark Sharice, It Get a 9. Afraid Not, the Frankie Graham Jr. Foundation. Soul Searcher, good morning. Varian, good morning. Samaya, KFZ, Wrestling, good morning. No Human Humanist, Shay, Edward Green, Photogenic, FAL, Flawed Dragon, Brandy Rubble, on and on it goes. Hollywood, good morning, y'all. The Pioneer, good morning, everybody. Environmental Coffee House, I see you, Alicia. Good morning, Mary. What's going on? Good morning, y'all. Mary, good morning. I don't even know if Mama and Daddy watching. Good morning, Mama and Daddy.
Your games and all that you're denying.
New tunes for y'all. Season 2 coming soon. Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned. Dragon Dane, good morning.
I got room and make amends, but can't go through the same regrets. It could feel so good.
Tiger, good morning, Tiger. Shamar, good morning. Carter Wynn, good morning to y'all, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Q. Love you too. Good morning. Sylvia, good morning to you. Goku, shout out Goku. All right, y'all. That was a new jam that I just dropped right there, y'all. And I think I'll play one more for y'all. Let's see. Give me 1 second. All right. Let's see. We'll do. Boom. Let's see what this one. Oh man, I know it's one I'm like. Oh yeah, y'all give me a second. I gotta find my other song. I know that being like this one.
It's all for you. Freedom. Keep your ear to the ground. Talking about the freedom.
Well, it looks like we got some joy clips that's about to play. Go ahead and play that. Run that clip, man.
Yes, it's right. Start right now. Get your freedom tonight.
All right, well, I just think thankful that y'all don't have the ability to make a mask mandate. Instead, I was going to talk about the need for a second high school, but I was sidetracked by, for the boys, pussy or the idea of pussy or the idea of pussy. A Mexican is a Mexican is a Mexican. Take her out back, we boys figured, then hand on the titty. Put it in her coin box, put it in her cornhole, grab a hold of that braid, rub that calico. You can find that on page 39 of the book called Owl Darkness, which you can find at Hudson Bend Middle School and Bee Cave Middle School. All right, not gonna lie, I had to Google cornhole because I have the game in the back of my yard. But according to Wikipedia, cornhole is a sexualist slang vulgarism for anus. The term came into the use in the 1910s in the United States as verb form to cornhole, which came into usage in the 1930s, means to have anal sex. I do not want my children to learn about anal sex in middle school. I have never had anal sex. I don't want to have anal sex. I don't want my kids having anal sex. I want you to start focusing on education and not public health. You are supposed to be educating our children. Do not teach them about anal sex.
Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Okay, wait. James, I need you to hold the music for a second. I got 3 unbelievable things happening at one time, and I have to comment on all 3 so people can understand my joy. First of all, James, DJ X3C. Y'all tip your DJ on Cash App, DJ X3C. Somebody bless my brother because he got up on his day off. You know I wasn't going to fire you on your day off, man.
I was asleep like a mother sucker. I just want y'all to know. Laying on my sofa. I had to put on clothes.
And James, this is my creation, right? This is a monster of my creation. I wanted to give everybody a day off, and Wednesday was supposed to be your day off. And then on your very first day off, I hit you up and say, James, I need you, man.
Yeah. I was going to cuss man out. And I sent another message saying, y'all sure y'all need me? Because this bed feeling damn good right now. Because, you know, right after this, I got to get on that phone at 11 o'clock and deal with these crazy-ass people at this corporate office.
Well, I think the people can attest to the fact that, man, when you step in the room, the party livens up. Good morning, everybody. Like it's just a night and day difference. So I'm gonna have to do something. I gotta recalibrate. My calculus wasn't correct. I don't know that if I can afford people to have days off because it's just so much energy. But maybe in season 2, our goal is to make sure that our team can do this, and then when we get done with this, we go and prepare for the next day. Ain't nobody on our team should be working for no corporate overlords. So that's our goal. That's our goal unashamedly for season 2. Y'all are getting some of the best that you gon' get on the internet because DJ Exclusive, I don't know anywhere else, before I toss it back to you to play what you want to play, I don't know anywhere else where you could get a song like that. What was that? Freedom Funk. What was that?
Freedom by Freedom. I think that's who it's by. It's Freedom by Freedom.
Okay. So I need to hear a little bit more of that because at the same time, this is the third absurdity. At the same time, we were doing all that as you were making a sacrifice for your boy. I appreciate you, man. And we were listening to that jam, Freedom by Freedom. We also had to listen to Cornhole Karen screaming in the microphone about how she doesn't want her kids. I hope no kids are up watching this. I hope all the kids are at school because she wants to make sure that your kids don't have anal sex. And she's at a school board meeting, bro. She's at a school board meeting and she's making it seem as though this is a book that is being taught in school, when this is a book that's like in some library somewhere. So God forbid there's a book in a library that makes a reference to cornholes, and then she goes and Google it and goes on this tirade. Can we play it real quick one more time, Dwayne? Ladies and gentlemen, Cornhole Karen. Here we go.
All right, well, I'm just thankful that y'all don't have the ability to make a mask mandate. Instead, I was going to talk about the need for a second high school, but I was sidetracked by, for the boys, pussy or the idea of pussy or the idea of pussy. A Mexican is a Mexican is a Mexican. take her out back, we boys figured, then hand on the titties, put it in her coin box, put it in her cornhole, grab a hold of that braid, rub that calico. You can find that on page 39 of the book called Out of Darkness, which you can find at Hudson Bend Middle School and Bee Cave Middle School. All right,
I need to read
not
that
gonna
book.
lie, I had to Google cornhole because I have the game in the back of my yard. But according to Wikipedia, cornhole is a sexualist slang vulgarism for anus. The term came into the use in the 1910s in the United States as verb form to cornhole, which came into usage in the 1930s, means to have anal sex. I do not want my children to learn about anal sex in middle school. I have never had anal sex. I don't want to have anal sex. I don't want my kids having anal sex. I want you to start focusing on education and not public health. You are supposed to be educating our children. Do not teach them about anal sex.
James.
And then David asked, talking about, she said she got the game in the backyard. Pun intended.
Bro, wait. Now, if you listen to the passage that she's reading a passage from a book that she objects to. But she's come to the school board meeting to say this, I object to the entirety of this school system because of a book that I found that I disagree with. Okay. But man, she out of everything that she read, the only thing she had the problem with was the anal sex part, man. That passage sounded problematic as hell. If I listen really closely, it's like it's a lot of stuff in that passage that she should be opposed to, James, but she drew the line at the cornhole.
At cornhole. You had all these pee drops and then grabbing. You had all of that in there, but cornhole. The only word that we can say on the air is the only word that you had a problem with.
Oh, okay.
You remember the way
it gets better. James, it gets better. This sister is so confident in her ignorance, and she's so provocative in her incompetence that she decided to challenge the police state. And it did not go well. I give you Cornhole Karen Part 2. This is what happens when keeping it real goes too far.
I have to identify myself. Yes, you do. Actually, I don't. It's called common law. You should read up on it. I do not. Okay?
That's the same
so
chick.
We both know that I don't. I am a woman of God. This is my right as much as it is yours.
Bruh.
This is my land as much as it is yours. I did not sign up for this. I am a Christian woman of God, and you are not going to put your disgusting rules on me that are false and not true. I will not have it. Do you understand that? I will not have it. I'm sick of being bullied. I'm sick of being lied to, and it's not going to happen anymore. Do you understand? The CDC just released.
Turn around.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Play this game.
Oh my gosh.
And this is actually the first video because I saw this video like weeks ago, and really? So yes, it is. I saw this video weeks ago. I didn't know not realize it was the same person because the other part of this too. I thought that same whatever damn meeting or she was at. I think that I thought that was like the same building that we saw another video in where that other teacher was sitting. I thought that was the same damn building. So I'm just like, wait a minute. Is this all the same place?
You mean to tell me after she got arrested by the police, she showed up talking about cornholes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because this happened like, I forgot how long ago I saw this. But like I said, last week, 2 weeks ago, I saw that one first. The first thing I thought about was white chicks is, I want to talk to your manager. You know what? I'm going to write a letter. Dear Mr. Manager, I am a white woman living in America. See, this is what happened when y'all wake me up in the morning. I ain't slept, ain't had no coffee, ain't smoked no Black and Mild, ain't had none of that. So y'all gonna get all of it today, goddamn it. Good morning, y'all.
And you know what, man? I need it all. Let's go to a break. James, may I request that you play that song again, Freedom by Freedom, because I had never heard it and it spoke to my soul. You know me so well, brother. And then just have your way until we come back with Like It or Not with Rebecca Azor after James, DJ Exclusive, the minister of music here, takes us in. It's in your hands, Reverend.
Reverend Funny. We got music. Okay, cool. There we go.
So fresh, so new. Freedom. It's all for you. All for you. Freedom.
Y'all make sure y'all stay tuned, man. I don't have a dad joke for y'all this morning, but I got. Oh wait, yes I do. I have a lot of them actually. I have something else. See, another reason why I was still asleep this morning is the medicine that I was taking last night. Made me write the whole ass song, make a song, record over a song. Anyway, y'all stay tuned. I'm gonna play it for y'all next. Peter Griffin, yes, and I cannot wait to watch it.
Come on, everybody, young, old, all you lovers, this is your time to rise back from the sand and claim your freedom. Talking about the freedom. Let yourself be free.
I give you freedom. Yes, it's right. Freedom. Start right now.
Talking about the freedom.
Get your freedom tonight. Freedom. Yes, it's right.
Let yourself be free.
Start right now. Freedom. Get your freedom tonight. Freedom.
Someone replaced all of the buttons on the elevator. It was wrong on so many levels. Hey, y'all. Last night, my ass. See, this is what happens when you take great prescription drugs. Great prescription drugs. That, let's download music and getting ready for season 2. That, y'all, I made a damn song. So, just for y'all, this is like it or not. Y'all know what time it is. Get your coffee, your tea, your drink, whatever it is you need. It's time for Like It or Not, y'all. Like it or not, going down. Like it or not, it's starting now. Oh, like it or not,
I need the lyrics.
it's going down. Like it or not, y'all still go round. Oh, Rebecca's oh, it's coming out. You know she got a story for us. Oh, Benjamin is coming through. That's my dog, all through and through. Oh God, I am your DJ, DJ Exclusive. Y'all know who I am. I stay in the chat room, like it or not.
I'm done with you, James. I'm done.
Like it or not. This is about to go.
Is this? You got a bridge? Here comes the bridge. Oh, Sting!
That's all y'all get.
Sting!
I loved it.
This ain't you on good medicine for your your joints and everything.
Oh man.
James, this thing cracking up last night. I'm like, y'all just wrote a whole ass song. What is going on? Let me lay down.
Like it or not.
See, that's what I want to rock on it.
Down.
He went straight Keith Sweat. He started begging, baby, like it.
It was giving nasal. It was given straight from the nasal. Really
straight from the nose, right up here.
Hey.
Like it or not. It's going down.
Oh man. James.
Listen, Dwayne, I don't know what's going on with my camera. So it's like literally focusing.
Yeah, it's like autofocusing. Yeah.
We'll suffer it to be so. James.
Bubba, can you cue up that last part where you got into your nighttime voice and said it's about to go down? Can you just cue up that part for me one time?
Oh man, help me. Father, I stretch my hands to thee.
I caught that too.
I know. Rebecca.
I can't get to it because I can't stand y'all, man. Hold on.
Should I turn it off, Dwayne? Look, because it's all kind of technical difficulties on my end while he let him do what he's doing. Get me down.
We are so disrespectful.
And let me turn it off. We so ghetto on the show. And let me turn it off, and I'm gonna be right back because we got to get this right. I'll be right back.
Play that part, James.
You're in the way.
The Keith Sweat.
Okay, here you go.
Wait.
It's about to go down.
Like it or not, with Benjamin Dixon starts now.
So you
that's my dog.
You gonna have
I
to
got
do
it.
that. Oh,
I fixed it.
I didn't know you was gonna be back in time. So Bubba, one more time.
Y'all, I can't stand. Everybody's fired. Everybody's fired.
How did that get fired? I'm out damn day off. Like it or not, it's about to go down.
Like it or not, with Benjamin
I like
Dixon
that. I like that.
starts now.
Oh, look.
Good morning,
Here we go.
good morning,
Wait.
good morning.
Right there. Okay.
Good morning and welcome to Like It or Not, where we're free to tell the truth
and not care who doesn't like it.
It is Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021. It's the first day of fall and seasons are changing. And everybody's fired. Everybody. I'm firing myself.
Is today the first day of fall? Well, yeah, I've been in the fall zone. So, but this is the fall is. I've been in the fall zone, child. But fall is actually two things. When your old fling or whatever starts to try to come back so they can be all cool, because fall brings those kind of feelings, right? No, it's three things. Season. So fall will do that. They're going to try to bring your little bald-headed, nappy-headed, or beady-headed, and that could be male or female or non-gender conforming, and trying to come back and send the text messages. I see it's fall and the leaves are falling. That reminds me of the way that I felt for you when I saw you at Chick-fil-A or something like that, right?
Hey, man.
Hold on, Rebecca. Wait.
The leaves blah.
Did she say something about some Chick-fil-A?
Chick-fil-A. Like,
You got to say it again. Hold on. I'm sorry.
It's sure enough, the seasons change and everybody gets a little bit romantic. You know what I mean? The temperature drops.
Or you get depressed.
What is
Or you get depressed. And we don't want that because seasons also bring in seasonal depression. So I know that I usually do get seasonal depression every year. So for me, what I did this year is dress up my home. I told you guys about it already, but dress up my home in like this cute, remove all the things that I had before, like my usual yellow that's here. And I put like fall colors, like some purples, some oranges, some browns. And it's real cute. And my balcony has it too. And I did the bathroom the same way. And I have like little things that remind me of good things, like autumn blessings. Don't text him back. I'm just kidding. But yeah, those are all around the house. and then the other thing is, fall. They say when you look at the leaves changing, it reminds you in the beauty of letting dead things go. Come on, somebody, that was the word. So just enjoy fall.
It's a new
you
season.
felt that in your shana.
It's a new season. It's a new day, Rebecca Azor.
Look, Dwayne is really trying to get me, and I just keep moving, and he's trying to get me in frame. I see you. You're doing a good job. But it's a new season. Speaking of new season 2 is coming up of Like It or Not, and we are going to have. If y'all think
really
this was cute,
announcements coming up.
Yeah, if y'all think this was cute, what we have coming up is going to be amazing. Don't worry, Ben, I'm not dropping any tea. But yeah, season 2 is coming up and it's going to be amazing.
I don't know if we get fired, there's going to be season 1 of Bubba and Dwayne.
Hey, listen, let me tell you something.
What's up? Let's get it.
Listen, let me make it abundantly clear. I was joking. There shall be no firings in this house because if you want to know what I look like by myself, it was damn near about to start a revolution during the George Floyd protest. So I need, nobody go.
Don't be pointing at me.
No, I pointed. Which way did I point? Hang on. It's reversed. I'm trying to point the opposite way. No, it wasn't her, it was me, but I digress. Rebecca, we always have so much joy when we start because we always end up having to deal with some BS.
From me?
No, it's not your BS.
Oh, not only my BS, but yes, some BS in the world. Go ahead, Ben. I'm sorry.
I digress. Tell us about the BS. Before we start flowing.
So this morning, you guys know, so I was up. You guys see I'm dressed down today. So I was up or whatever the case may be. And I did my ponytail. And then when I turned around, my ponytail was on the floor. I've told you guys that sometimes that happens. So my ponytail weave was on the floor because I did not attach it correctly. And I was thinking like, let me just, do a quick, whatever. Ponytail was on the floor.
I want you to watch how she pivots. Watch how she pivots.
So I did hurry up, snatch it, put it back on. And I tried to get on here at the 9:00, but I was like, I can't hold this down. And at the same, hold this baby was hanging on by just the 3 pins. So, but she's on right now. And what's funny is, you guys, this, I don't know what people call ponytails and extensions or whatever. We can call it anything, whatever we want. But at the end of the day, what is it? It's still a ponytail. Like, it's still not my hair. It's still an extension. So I want to talk about that, a play on words, because that's what America seems to do, right? Even though a thing is a thing, we're not going to call a thing a thing. My ponytail weave this is not my hair. Yes, I purchased it. It's mine because I bought it, but this is not growing out of my head, right? But we can say, your ponytail weave, but we know it's not mine. We know it. So I say that to say a lot of times Americans get so caught up on words, right? Now, when we saw those photos and those images yesterday of those Haitians being whipped, okay? Yes, whipped. Whips, right? And I call them whips, and I'm going to tell you why I call them whips. Because everybody want to be so caught up on words. And people are like, it's not whips.
Say it.
Those are reins that they use to bring in the horses. So were the Haitian asylum seekers the animals? Were they the animals? Because that's what they were doing. And when they were using that, they were whipping them into shape, right? They were using those reins to whip. To do the action of whipping. They use the rein as a whip to do the action of whipping. So I don't care what you guys want to call it or make it or do it. Y'all get so caught up on words like nobody's business in this country instead of looking at what happened. Did you not see where the rope was? It wasn't on the horse. It was on that Black immigrant. It was on that Haitian immigrant. It was on that asylum seeker. It was not on the horse. Let's be clear. Okay, let's be clear. So all of this talk that's happening on social media, where our focus, and this is what I say a lot of times when we make our focus not on the issue anymore, but on something minute like a word, right? Minute like somebody's balls, minute like, what this person said.
I just have to put, Rebecca, I just got to put in context for somebody who's listening for the first time. We're talking about the Trinidadian testicular incident with Nicki Minaj when she just drops balls.
Instead of focusing, incident.
Instead of focusing on the incident at hand. Like for me right now in this particular instance, we need to be focusing on these Black immigrants and the mistreatment, the high level of mistreatment. I watched about... in America, let me put that, the high level of mistreatment of Black immigrants in America. Got to be clear about that. But I watched so many testimonials of these Black immigrants, of these Haitian immigrants when they went back to Haiti and what they were saying. They were talking about their experience and how they watched Chinois, which is the Chinese. They watched people from Guatemala and all these other places. And they weren't treated good, but they weren't treated how we were treated. One guy talks about them being changed. He said, I have a Colombian wife. They didn't do much to her. But when they saw me and realized that I was Haitian, they tightened my handcuffs. He said they had pregnant women chained by the foot. They said that when they got to the border, they were given a piece of paper. And when they were given the piece of paper, they handed it to them. It had a number on there saying that somebody would assist them in America, right? Now they called the number. They're waiting. That's what they're doing. You think these people are going to come? You think these people are really going to come just like this without no information or whatever? Somebody didn't tell them something. They got a piece of paper with an American number. They called the American number. There was the number called them back, almost like waiting in line when you're waiting for your license or something, yeah. And you're waiting for your number to be called. They finally called the number, give her a number, have them pull up. She said when they got across at that point, now they put them in prison. They done rolled them over into a prison. She had, when she reached back to Haiti, a thing in her hand, and they asked her, what is that in your hand? What is that in your hand? She said, y'all want to know what this is? This is a piece of foil paper that they gave us to cover up after me being in the same outfit that I've been in for days. She said, I saw them giving the other people clothes. We've been in the same outfits that we've been in for days. She said, I'm going to be clear and I'm going to be honest. Black immigrants don't get treated good over there. She said, me being dropped back in my country is not the issue. It's just a lot going on here. We want some kind of, we need some kind of peace. But me, I'm from here. I'm here in the country that I'm from. Was told that there was something better for me, so I went to go check it out. I saw with my own eyes how they treat Black immigrants, and they asked her, is there something racist? She's like, everywhere there's some racial issues, there's some racial tension, but I'm gonna tell you right now, yeah. How can I not say? She said, yeah, I want to go over there. Those people don't treat us good. They will never treat us good.
I mean, it's on the screen.
And I couldn't believe it. And now people want to say that what we saw wasn't it. What we saw, I don't know if we have that footage of
Jinsaki?
Not Jinsaki. I don't know if you have that footage of I dropped it in there. But of Kamala Harris and her making her first statement, because, we don't see her much. Mm-hmm. We don't see her much. We don't really hear from her much. And she looks annoyed. If we can get that footage, I can look for it and send it to you guys if we don't have it. And she looks annoyed. She looks very annoyed in the response when she's being asked. Not this one, but we can hold this one right here. Well, I'm going to get the other footage, the most recent one. But she looks very annoyed when she's asked by reporters about what's going on. And she's just, you know how she moves. She kind of moves like me. She's moving and she's talking and she's saying whatever. And she's just like, it's unacceptable. We're going to do a further investigation. And then it's just clear to see where this woman was missing for so long and happened to be caught somewhere and asked questions about what's going on. And her body language told us everything we needed to hear. But I want you to hear this juxtaposition about Vice President Kamala Harris in her campaign and Vice President Kamala Harris after being elected. Let's take a look.
And then what happens when they arrive at our borders? We who have erected the Statue of Liberty, they arrive at our borders and we say, go back to where you came from. That is inhumane and it is immoral. And so
5 minutes later.
Do not come. Do not come.
Wait a minute, bro.
And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
Whoa. That quite the juxtaposition there, Rebecca Azor.
Remember when we were talking about the do not come, it was like, hold on. Weren't you guys the ones that said that we will be a nation of immigrants? We will go back to loving immigrants. We will go back to supporting immigrants. Haitians specifically, we will interfere, I should say, into the election process and get you a leader that you deserve. Right. And we will get you the help that you need. And now that all of that didn't happen, so they was like, all right, then we're going to pull up to the States. We pulling up. We heard that there's assistance there. You guys said it. Pull up, and the first thing that happens right there at the border. And I want to clarify what you guys see, because there were Haitians that were talking, and they were stating that they were going over to Mexico because it's right across the water there. They share that border where they were. They were going over to Mexico to go get food, to purchase food, because they were able to purchase over there. They were going to Mexico to purchase food to bring back to the families and everything on the other side. And those patrols, because somebody's like, they not police. Well, listen, they all the same. They policing over there. So what do we call it? See what they put this word thing. It pisses me off. Yes. They are this is law enforcement, right? And they're over there. And what we call police patrols, all of them. This is law enforcement. This is they're patrols, and they're over the border patrols, and they're over there, and they were stopping them from coming back to go feed their family. That's why that man was like, that's why they was holding on tight to that food, because they had to make it to the other side to give it to their family. That's what was going on. And this is where I say, like, and then the other guy was like, what they're not going to tell you is how, I don't understand why the American media isn't asking us these questions and telling us what was our experience. Because what they're doing is talking about what they hear, what they heard, or whatever. But that they were saying that prison, that border patrol prison, that area, that where they had us, and they told us that we were going somewhere to get help, to seek asylum. And they put us in prison.
Can I ask you a question? You mentioned people playing these word games. Who out here is, because I know I saw the clip of Jen Psaki, was it last night or this morning, talking about this is not who we are. Yeah, no, this is exactly who we are, Jen.
Exactly.
But who is out here talking about the semantics of whether or not this was a whip or versus a rein? Because I want them to. I want them to feel it.
You would be surprised
if they think there's a difference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is there a difference?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said no. You'll be surprised, because it's like I've seen it this morning. Like a lot of videos floating around on social media where black people are explaining, "Hey, a whip is a whip, regardless of if it's reins, a damn belt, a switch from outside on the tree. A whip is a damn whip. You are doing the action of whip, which is a goddamn verb. Whip is a whip is a whip. It don't give a damn what it is. Them damn reins, it's a whip. Damn now, man.
But that's what I was saying. The action of whipping, right? I can use my daddy and them can use their belts, right? And they're using it as a whip to do the action of whipping. And I need you guys to understand that. I don't even want to break it down. I don't even want to stay on that, because that's what we're seeing right now is these people getting whipped. They weren't reining in the horses. They were reining in and whipping the Haitian immigrants, the asylum seekers, the black immigrants, right? They were doing that to them. Why? Because they thought that they looked at them, and they look at them as being animals. Even in the prison that they put them in, they treated them the least favorable. They treated them like trash. And this is what we need to understand. Hear what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying. When media puts them out there, don't just put the little parts of it. I listened to what this man was saying. I'm like, these are key parts that are not being translated.
I was going to say, do we have that part where this animal who is sitting on top of a horse was talking to the Haitian asylum seekers, and you could hear the evil in this man's voice, the hatred, the bigotry, and you can see how this man, who is law enforcement, using a tool to whip black people, was spitting the energy and the vitriol of white supremacy. So when you say these black asylum seekers are getting treated worse than anybody else? Yeah. No, it makes sense, because if we heard, I don't know if we have that audio, but if we have that video and audio of what that animal sitting on top of the horse was saying to those asylum seekers, yeah, Rebecca, the darker your melanin count, the more horrific you're going to be treated at our borders.
That's not even like that we're trying to take away from the Afghanians who came here and were seeking asylum themselves and got assistance and were promised, I think it was like a certain amount, 90,000 of them were promised asylum here with help or assistance from the Biden administration. But Haitians couldn't even get looked at. They couldn't even get a side eye. They couldn't even get anything. As soon as they got here, it was get their behinds out of here. They didn't even cause issues. They went to an isolated town that they heard, right? They told them about this route. Do you hear? They had to cross in through gangs, areas where gangs were known to be, when they knew that asylum seekers would be coming through, they would rape the women. They crossed that. One man said he saw people die and not make the trek. They died in front of him. And we have to remember these are women, children, men, all of these people coming through looking for a better life. They didn't even come to an area to go bother nobody in a city that was occupied. They're in an area under a bridge, not bothering nobody, just waiting for an opportunity. That's all. And they said, even if they brought us back in the way that they brought us and the way that they treated us, lets me know I don't want to go there no more. I don't want to be there. But America treats Black immigrants this way. Did we pull that recent video of Kamala Harris?
Yeah, I believe we have it.
Okay, so let's play and let's see what Kamala Harris had to say. Vice President Kamala Harris had to say when she was confronted about the issues happening in Texas.
Would want to give them if we met people like Jamie. So
Madam Vice President, do you have any reaction to the Border Patrol agents using horse reins to rein in Haitian migrants down at the southern border?
What I saw depicted about those individuals on horseback treating human beings the way they were is horrible. And I fully support what is happening right now, which is a thorough investigation into exactly what is going on there. But human beings should never be treated that way. And I'm deeply troubled about it. And I'll also be talking to Secretary Mayorkas today about it.
And just as your role as, stemming migration from Central America, are you also going to be looking into, looking at migration issues in Haiti as well?
Well, listen, the whole point is that we have to understand Haiti. I mean, talk about a country that has just experienced so much tragedy that has been about natural disasters, the head of state assassinated, and we really have to do a lot more to recognize that as a member of the Western Hemisphere, we've got to support some very basic needs that the people of Haiti have to get back up and to do what folks naturally want to do, be them from Haiti or in the countries in Central America. People want to stay home. They don't want to leave home. But they leave when they cannot satisfy their basic needs. So, yes, this is a concern.
Thank you all so very much.
Yeah. So, yesterday.
I have a recommendation.
Go ahead.
All talk, no action.
I have a recommendation that we can employ immediately if you want to help Haiti. How about France pay back every dime with interest that Haiti has had to pay to it?
They're not. But yeah, how about it? If we talk about this,
how about the United States Rebecca, you can say it much better than I do. I digress. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. But you're right. We say this point every single time there's an issue in Haiti, right? How about y'all run us our money that you guys took? How about, every single thing for our freedom? Why do we have to pay for it? Run us every coin, every dollar. Same thing with the U.S. A lot of the resources that you guys have taken that allowed Haitians to make money off of their own farming. Run us our money, run us our resources. Everything that you've stole, give it back. They won't, because they look at Haiti and you would think that they're coming over here for no reason. This is what the image is on in the. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the imagery and it's pissing me off. You would have thought, because I was questioning how the hell did they get this route? Who told them about this? They're like, nah. We were literally told if we make it here, Call this number. The lady had the piece of paper in her hand showing the information.
Oh, wait, can we?
But it was almost
number?
like a setup. There was a number on a piece of paper.
Because my father-in-law had a theory that I had not really unpacked much, but you know, you kind of making it sound like these folks were lured to the border for exactly what we see, because this serves a political purpose, to be sure. This serves the chaos that was created at the border, serves all of these xenophobic, rabidly racist conservatives who want to shut everybody out except for, you know, white immigrants, right?
The lighter you are,
exactly,
the more acceptable you'll be. And that's where it's an issue. I don't know why they look at Haitian immigrants and do you hear the pity? That's what I'm like, don't do that, Kamala, because we ain't heard from you in ages. And now you want to say it was a few things. It's the hypocrisy of it all from all of them. It's funny, and I don't care, y'all. I don't care, because they tried to clear me and tell me, well, she said. I don't care what she said, because in the same sentence she also said, and this is what we need to focus on. Kamala and both the mouthpiece of the Biden administration, Jen Psaki, which we know this is coming from Biden, because if he isn't saying anything and these people are being the performative acts for his mouth, then we need to really take this as Biden's word.
Oh, absolutely. No question. Jen Psaki speaks for the president.
Period. And so does Vice President Kamala Harris. We see what's going on here. This is his administration, and we see the representation. That means exactly what he's saying. And this is who we put in office, right? So Kamala Harris sat there and said, in her little annoyance, whatever, like, oh, y'all, I said what I said. Now, another question. She said, they're going through so much over there. No, first she said, that is unacceptable what we saw, and we're going to go through an investigation. If you guys know what you saw was unacceptable, if you guys knew that is no way to treat, that's what she said, that's no way to treat people, why do you need an investigation into what you saw? What, to clarify? Okay, whatever. But what you saw, I need people to speak and speak clearly. What we saw is unacceptable. Yeah. They were using their reins as whips on the Black immigrants, and that's what we do not do. If that's what you said, America's not like that. That's what we should not be doing, is that. Now, we need to take those immigrants. We're going to go there, take those immigrants and figure out where we're going to put them. That's the investigation I want to hear about, not the further investigation on if they were, how they were, because that's America. We saw how America did that and asked for more proof after we saw a police officer have put his knee on the neck of George Floyd.
And they needed more evidence.
And they needed more evidence and needed to investigate it a little bit more, although it was on video, not even a photo, video, so we can actually see what was going on. But no matter how much proof they have, they're still going to need some time to draw up some BS law, right? To draw up some BS law to say this is why they can't come here, because it is illegal. But why wasn't it illegal for the others, for the other people, for the other race of people that came? Why? But for some reason, you guys find some law and make it fit so that it could be illegal. Now, Kamala Harris also said, and this is what they'll do. They'll put that pity on and act like these people, they're running from what's going on. We know why they're coming, because yes, they are struggling with everything that's happening. But you think that they will go there for no reason, like they weren't told to go there? Somebody told these people there's assistance there. That's why they made that trek. Nobody's going to make that trek for no reason and think that is just, we'll just take a chance. No, they literally were waiting because they thought that this was part of, if they made it there, utilize the information that they got. They said that those people told them they were going to feed them. They told them that they're going to assist them. They're going to take them somewhere so that they can get paperwork done.
Can we unpack that a little bit? Because wow.
And, I want to ask a question about that as well too, because I did read a story, and I know somebody else asked this as well too. A lot of people are asking, how did they get here? So I know that not everyone there at the border is from, let's say, came directly from Port-au-Prince, correct? I know. Yeah, I read a story that a few of them, a lot of people are migrating from Chile and somewhere else.
Other Latin American countries. It's Haitians that are migrating from other Latin American countries too. And it's majority Haitians there, because they've all had, somebody said, so if you do this, there was, and and I'm trying to remember the interview it was, because we played a clip of it, but as B-roll. And when I find it, or I can post it up on Twitter or Instagram. But the man had the card in his hand, and he was showing like, I'm not dumb. This is what they gave me. This is what they gave me. This is the information they gave me. They said call this number
last week.
Right. And Rebecca, what is
last week? Go ahead, James. I'm sorry, man.
What is the reason that they're leaving? I know you said earlier, like one reason is, and I think I even saw in the story that I read too, was because of them having problems finding a lot of jobs there.
Jobs.
Of course.
That ain't even, listen. Like jobs have been taken away from these people for ages. They're working for white folks that come over there and take their land, and they're farming for pennies to $1 for white folks in their own country. But that's not even the case. From the earthquake before, there's been a lot of destruction. Not only the earthquake, there has been a lot. Yeah, and that was in 2010. And there was a recent earthquake. Just a month ago, there was an assassination there. The government is broken. There is nothing that they're not listening to the people. They've been in the streets protesting for years over so much corruption that's been happening there. Gangs are taking over the streets over there. There's so much, and people are looking for some safety and some freedom. America knows why they're coming here, but I don't like the pity thing. Like, we're not going to give you help, but
Oh, I was gonna say, Rebecca. So a couple
tell me what's your father-in-law.
Yeah,
I want to hear that.
Cause and Dwayne, put the B-roll back up again, because the very first thing my father-in-law texted me about this was, he said, Ben, we gotta look into who and why they came, because this serves the Republican agenda just too well. The anti-immigration agenda too well. And what I'm hearing you say, and I missed this totally. We did play this yesterday. You caught it. You're saying that the people who came, they came because they were given a piece of information, a card that had a phone number on it that said, come meet us here. We're going to provide you with food, and we're going to provide you with help. And then they get there and they're met with whips and cameras. Sounds like my father-in-law might be on to something.
Yeah, no, seriously. And I'm telling you, they won't come and put their kids out and just about to start speaking Creole. They won't just come and bring their kids out just like that, crossing the water. On the other side, I know what they're making it look like right now, but on the other side is the Mexican border, and there they're able to at least get some food and things like that and try to get back over the water and continue their wait process. And here goes immigration letting them know, hey, come on over. We'll help you out. We'll save you. But actually, it took them to a prison. After days and days of that trek, they get there. Now they thought they were going to be taken to the processing where they can be processed for asylum. It was a prison where they watched people. Oh my God! One man said, the guy with the Colombian wife, he said, I saw a pregnant woman being dragged by her feet, and it was almost like they did it as an example. He said, by the horses. Some other people said they, on the side that they were on, they weren't abused, but they were mistreated. So everybody has these stories of what's happening, but they said one thing is for sure: the way they treat Black immigrants. That's how they said it. They said Black immigrants. The way they treat Black immigrants over there is something I can't believe. It's something I can't believe. And that's it. That, like, people, they got off. There's footage of them getting off of the deportation plane into Haiti, and they are screaming. You know how we saw that video of Afghanians trying to hop onto the plane as it took off to get here? Remember? We saw those videos. Now, Haitians were doing the same thing. As soon as they got off, they were trying to get back on the plane. And those people were like pushing them off, shutting the doors, getting them out there, and like we're literally not caring and just getting them out of there. And they were screaming and they were crying. They were throwing tantrums. They were fighting each other. They dropped them off. The Haitian police gave them toison good, 300, like I said, 300 Haitian money, so they can make the trek back to wherever they're from, even if it's outside of Port-au-Prince. And that was it. $300 in Haitian money is close to not a damn thing.
Yeah.
It's just turmoil. I feel so, and it really does. It plays, this whole thing plays it stresses me out emotionally, mentally, and all of that, because these are my people, and it's almost like we're made to look. One day they're calling us resilient, the next they're calling us needy, right? They're calling us épave. Like she said they dropped us back out here like we have no family. The truth is, I'm from here. I do got family. One thing Haitians say the uttermost disrespect is when you treat me like I have no family. That is the utmost. That's the biggest disrespect to a Haitian. Like you treat me like I have family. Comme c'est un petit cap mandé pour pain à café, cap crier pour pain à café. It's like how I just said. It's like I'm a child who's crying for peanut butter and coffee or peanut butter and bread, which is, Haitian, like a popular Haitian food that they'll eat in the morning. Like I'm a child who's crying for that. I'm not. I just need a better life. I'm not crying. That's why Haitians, when the earthquake happened, they're like, listen, when it comes to food, we got that. We good. We need tents. We need first aid kits. We need these things. Stop treating us like that. That's one thing that we're not. And that's what American media likes to do. What we see here is an immigration issue. And that's the conversation. Black immigrants in America are not treated at all with any respect. We see this, and sometimes we don't see it because the media won't cover it. If you ask an African immigrant what their experience was as they came here, they'll let you know. If you ask Caribbean immigrants, and like I said, I highlight these Haitians because they have the worst out of the experience. If you ask a Caribbean immigrant, they'll let you know how their experience was. Nothing was smooth, nothing at all. Even if you did every single thing that was told to you, you will always be treated less than. And that, to me, is the history in this country. The blacker, darker your skin, that is exactly how you will be treated, like you are less than.
Rebecca, let me give you an update that James just put me on the trail of. While we were live, the Associated Press announced 42 minutes ago, so this is how recent it is, that according to the Associated Press, many Haitian migrants camped, and I want to be sure that these are not migrants, these are asylum seekers. Language matters here. They have the right to come to our border to seek asylum, right? So many Haitian asylum seekers camped in a small Texas border town are being released in the United States. Two U.S. officials said, undercutting the Biden administration's public statements that the thousands in the camp faced immediate expulsion. Haitians have been freed on a very, very large scale in recent days, according to one U.S. official who put the figure in the thousands. The official, who has direct knowledge of operations, was not authorized to discuss the matter Tuesday. And he spoke on the conditions of anonymity. That's a really loaded headline and story. The language suggests something other than victory. This is not a victory from the language I'm getting from this article, but that's the most recent update that was.
They're saying that they freed thousands of them here in the U.S.
That's what they are. And to be sure, in this is an anonymous source who wants to speak under the conditions of anonymity.
That's fine, because I can speak to that. Yesterday, the Haitian Times actually reported that some asylum seekers, and this is to be clear, I get what they're trying to say, but to put the numbers in the thousands, I'm not sure. But there were some Haitians who actually did make it through, and they will stay in U.S. awaiting asylum hearings. So among the nearly 14,000, mostly Haitian immigrants camped on the banks of the Rio Grande River. We know that, but some of them were lucky and were processed by immigration officials and plan to head further north from the border town. So this is actually something that is, but I don't think the numbers are in the thousands like they said. What I want to highlight is that it is possible that they're making this some kind of damn Game of Thrones, like they're making this some kind of like challenge for them. Like, oh, if you make it right here, we'll let you go over. We'll let you through, but you got to make it right here. If you can't make it right here, you got to turn around and go back. So it shows you that some can, some made it in. Yeah, we know that. But look at the thousands that are being treated like trash.
It doesn't change the fact of what we see on the screen right now. And it doesn't change the fact of what's happening to them in these prisons. And it doesn't change the fact of how this country has historically, and right now to this day, treats black immigrants and black asylum seekers.
I can't imagine on a regular day, Ben, when there were not Haitians coming to this area, when it was probably Mexicans pulling up over this river. right here. And these CBP, the Border Patrol officers, were treating them without the media looking. Like, probably, who knows what happens. We know that in these immigration camps.
You're saying when the cameras aren't rolling?
In this particular area, I'm pretty sure there have been other people who tried to make this trek as well, over from Mexico. We know how Mexicans are treated. Right? We do. We know exactly how Mexicans are treated here in this country. Like I said, the darker you are on the spectrum, the worse you'll get the treatment. We have different programs that, even though they say that they're for everybody, they're not. I don't hear why doesn't DACA apply to Haitians? Yes, you may tell me that it does, but why doesn't it apply to Haitians? I'm telling you, you can ask any Haitians and they're going to say the process for me, they're going to tell me it doesn't work. So they created TPS. When you hear TPS, you know, Haitians are all talking about TPS. I never heard one Haitian talk about DACA in my life. Now, the TPS process that was supposed to be extended, now they're putting in fine print at the bottom in small font, saying if you didn't come here on a certain time, it don't work for you. It's always going to be a challenge.
Which is why this seems so much more like a setup that we're running up at the end of the hour. We got to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to go over to the after party because everything about this just smells like the perfect opportunity to create what you see on the screen right here. And what you're saying is confirming all those suspicions, but we're going to unpack that more. Patreon.com/like it or not to get access to the after party. We're headed over there. James is here on his day off. Rebecca, I drug that man out of his bed,
and I'm leaving after this because y'all ain't gonna talk me to death today. So I'm gonna drop y'all one song, and then I'm going.
But I told you, Bubba, do not pull up on your day off because that kind of energy needs to stay at home. So enjoy your morning off in the morning. I told you to enjoy your morning.
Because then what's gonna happen tomorrow? My ass gonna be here tomorrow, and Rebecca not gonna be here. She ain't right. So
wait a minute.
So take your day. I told you, take your day off.
Just for the sake of my integrity, James, I only did it because you told me I could, man. But I ain't gonna bother you. I should have known that.
Do it right goddamn way. Shit.
Didn't I tell you that from the text? I said, hey, y'all can talk all y'all talk, but on my day off, I'm gonna be asleep on the mountain or doing something that works for me.
And then, because you know when Rebecca get on, Rebecca gonna talk for the whole hour. I'm like, goddamn, why I'm here?
Especially if it's about Haiti. Especially if
it's about Haiti, girl. Because I'm like, goddamn, I could have logged out right now. I just could have played my song and logged back out and went back to bed. But now I gotta stay up and wait for this man to call me about this goddamn conference call.
I told you in Kamala Harris' voice, don't come. Don't come.
Well, Rebecca did say James don't come, and I said, well, man, that's great to hear, man. We'll figure out something out about it. Anyway, James, thank you for coming in on your day off.
Because it is, Rebecca. I'm thinking that you weren't coming on today, and when I saw Will just chill till Rebecca and James get on, wait a goddamn minute.
No, wait. Let's be sure because I think people need to understand. James brings something to the equation that is extremely valuable. He is the connoisseur of our community, and we can't do it without you, man. So there you go. Go take the rest of your day off.
You need to look tomorrow when I'm off and I'm watching.
Rebecca, you should come in tomorrow.
No, I'm not. So, but tomorrow, right. and I'm not even off for the day. I'm only off for the morning, so I need that. But tomorrow, you know what? I'm gonna send you a Haitian song to play in the after party since we can't, because the Haitian songs I listen to, they privy now. They got on to licensing their music. So,
damn. Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and send it to you so we can play it in the after show. Okay.
Okay.
That's it, James. Take us to the after party and then disappear, man. I really appreciate you.
Love you, mean it.
Love y'all. See y'all tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Look, they can never keep me down, I'm going, and if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up. I bet when I land, they gon' tell me it's luck again. See that I'm winning, it's harder to watch. I'm setting the stage, you should give me my props. You ain't got no soul, you lacking the spirit. You talk out your neck, I'ma show you I'm with it. I would really hate for you to sit and watch me win again and win again and win again. I know it's probably getting on me and win a synonym, so if I ever win again, it's no I did the minimum, I didn't have to sell my soul. Oh, yeah. Please don't play no games with me. It was never about the fame to me. They needed the best, so they came to me. Who the best in this thing? Tell them, yeah, that's me. Tell them who bring the vibes. Say, yeah, that's me. Who make it flip, make it bang. Ooh, yeah, that's me. Who make the party feel alive. Tell them, yeah, that's me. And if I'm taking a shot, I don't miss. Who knew I would be at the top like this? And no one made my goals for me. But I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Cause it's the path that God chose for me. So even if some doors close for me, I still won't let y'all close to me. So please step back where you're supposed to be. Put the game all on hold for me. And sit back, watch me roast to be.
I'm not going to tell y'all who this is because this is season 2 music. So y'all won't find out season 2 song names or artists until season 2 begins, y'all. I'm sorry. I had to do that to y'all. It's season 2. I can't tell y'all yet. That's just like saying,
yeah, that's me. Who that chillin' at the top? Tell them, yeah, that's me.
Nah, I gotta wait.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Tell them, yeah, that's me. Yeah, I'm chillin' at the top. Ooh, yeah, that's me.
Oh, we lured him in. And if y'all missed it from earlier, I guess I'll play our Like It or Not song again. It's not our Like It or Not song. I just made it up because if y'all not going to put this on the air every day because I was a damn fool when I did this. Y'all know what time it is. Get your coffee, your tea, your drink, whatever. I had a gin and tonic when I was... It's time for Like It or Not, y'all. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, it's starting now. Oh, like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, y'all stick around. Oh, Rebecca Azor is coming out. You know she got a story for us. Oh, Benjamin, that's my dog, all through and through. Oh, I am your TGJ, DJ exclusive. Y'all know who I am. I stay in the chat room. Like it or not, it's going down. Like it or not, it's about to go down. Stick.
My wife looking at me like something wrong with me.
Got to the body.